Imagine a strange little lizard who's got no idea who he really is. He wanders into this dusty, dry desert town filled with all kinds of weird and creepy creatures. The town's in trouble. It's suffering from a serious water shortage, which in a desert is basically a disaster. To fit in and survive, this lizard decides to pretend he's a tough gunslinger, a classic Western hero type, even though he's totally out of his depth. Surprisingly, everyone starts to believe him and he ends up becoming a local legend. That's the story of Rango, a movie that doesn't get enough credit. What makes Rango really special is that it's a Western movie, but it's not just a joke or a simple tribute to old cowboy films. Instead, it's kind of both a love letter and a clever critique. It uses all the usual Western stuff you'd expect: the mysterious stranger showing up, the crooked mayor, the fight for the town's water, and the classic showdown at high noon. But instead of just copying those ideas, the movie plays around with them in a really fun way. It respects the genre but also points out how dry, harsh, and kind of ridiculous life can be in a place like that. And the fact that the whole town is dying of thirst makes the stakes feel real and urgent. The real heart of the film is Rango himself. Before coming to this town, he was just a pet chameleon stuck in a glass tank, living in a make-believe world where he acted out different roles but never really had a true identity. So when he's suddenly thrown into the rough desert with real dangers, he feels lost because he doesn't actually know who he is. But he does know how to put on a show, how to act tough and confident. That's why his bluff about being a badass gunslinger works so well. He's not trying to trick people to be mean. He's just trying to find a way to be someone, to matter.
Name's Rango.
Hey, are you the fella that killed them Jenkins brothers?
Uh-huh. Killed him with one bullet.
What's great about him is that he's not your usual heroic type. He's scared and clumsy, he makes mistakes, and a lot of the time he's just pretending to be brave. But as the story goes on, he slowly changes. He becomes the hero he was faking all along.
It only takes one bullet.
You ain't got the nerve.
Try me.
The cool thing is that this transformation doesn't happen because he has some magical power or because fate picked him for greatness. Instead, it happens because he decides to be brave when it really counts. His lies turn into the truth, and that's what makes the movie so clever and touching. It's a story about finding yourself, even if you start out completely lost and unsure. When we talk about the town of dirt in Rango, it's not some shiny perfect place like you might see in other animated movies. Instead, it's kind of gross, dusty, and falling apart. The buildings look old and worn down, the streets are messy, and everything feels rough and real. The residents who live there have distinctive appearances, but that's exactly the point. This town isn't supposed to be a picture-perfect fantasy. It's a lived-in textured world with a lot of personality. Even though the characters might be creepy or weird, they feel real in their own way, like you can imagine them having their own tough little lives. The town itself is struggling to survive because there's basically no water left, which in a desert setting is a huge deal. It feels like the whole place is just barely holding on, kind of like a community that's about to fall apart but is still desperately trying to keep some kind of law, order, and hope alive. The visuals in this movie are gorgeous, by the way. There's so much detail and care put into every scene that it really pulls you into the world. The story isn't just about a cool Western setting, it digs into some deep stuff like corruption, using and abusing power, environmental collapse, and finding who you really are. The villain, Mayor Tortoise John, isn't just some over-the-top bad guy twirling his mustache. He's smart and calculating. He controls the town's water supply, purposely keeping it scarce so he can stay in power and keep everyone under his thumb. That kind of control and greed feels pretty realistic, and it shows how power can be used to hurt people in subtle but serious ways. The movie is definitely weird, but in a good way. For example, there are mariachi owls who narrate parts of the story almost like it's a Shakespearean tragedy, which gives the film a unique and fun vibe. All these odd choices make the movie stand out and add layers to the storytelling. What really makes Rango such a great movie is its message. It's not about destiny, or being some magically chosen hero. Instead, it's about someone who starts off as a nobody, unsure of themselves, and decides to become somebody important. The main character doesn't come into the story born to be a hero. He builds his own identity through his actions. By being brave, honest, and standing up for what's right when it matters most, he transforms from a scared, uncertain little lizard into a true hero. The movie shows that sometimes you have to fake confidence at first, but if you keep going, eventually that confidence becomes real. It's a powerful message that legends aren't born, they're made through courage and choice. Rango takes a fun, weird Western setting and turns it into a story about hope, identity, and the power of standing up for what you believe in, all wrapped up in a world that feels messy, real, and full of heart.